Gagliardo is a great example. So I went up to Gagliardo. That park, the baseball part of the park worked really well. When we were there, I see that it's gotten some attention, but the rest of the park is really sad.
I want to fix the basketball court desperately. The basketball court has never been ever looked good ever.
Yeah.
As long as I've been alive.
That court is in terrible disrepair, and it's facing the wrong way. Yeah. So you're on that basketball court,
and the sun is hitting your face crazy for one.
Yep. And the second thing is, if you miss the net, which maybe you don't, but I would, you're either sending your basketball into the baseball field or into the baseball field. And if there's a game going on in the baseball field, that's a real bummer.
This man is thinking outside the box.
Oh, this you crazy mother.
How are you, Angelo? Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Cool.
Nice to meet you.
This is my cameraman, Timmy.
How you doing?
My photographer, Leo.
Hey, nice to meet you guys.
Cool.
Yeah, maybe better without the sunglasses.
Yeah, we're gonna put this on you.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think where we want to walk. I always walk through town. I might want to switch it up.
Okay.
Cool. So Tim, we're gonna go this way. Then you're gonna cross and then go towards the park. I'll guide you, bro. And Leo, just take as many behind the scenes photos. Just run around, do whatever. Just do your thing, man. Be creative. Yeah. Cool.
Okay, cool.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's election season, guys, and you know me, I'm trying to be involved in the community as much as possible now. I've created a platform for myself where I got eyes, and you know, I live by Gagliardo Park, so one of the things I was trying to do was try to see what we could do to maybe improve that. And since it's election season, I was like, let's see who's going to be in charge coming up. And one of the people that's running is Josh Nathan. Explain to the people what your kind of like your background. I know that you were the president of the Board of Education.
Yeah.
So talk about some other things that you were a part of.
Sure. So my family and I.
Right. Perfect timing.
My family and I moved to Rye in 2000. My son was born 3 weeks after we got here. We fell in love with the community, and I got involved with the school board and served for 9 years, 3 terms as president. Did a whole lot of work there, which I'll share if you want, but I'll just keep going and then come back.
Yeah, we'll circle back.
And then I got involved after that. I was appointed to the Governor's Office of Storm Recovery, New York Rising Planning Committee for Rye, which is a mouthful, but basically that committee's job was to focus on storm resiliency and flood mitigation in Rye. It was a 2-year project, and it resulted in the city getting $3 million in federal money to go towards storm resilience and flood mitigation projects in Rye. It also produced a very
we're going to cross here, Tim.
Substantial report on all the different things Rye could be looking to do to improve its storm resilience and flood mitigation.
Right. What year was that? Because I remember when I was in high school, we had that first flood I ever seen. And the turf got messed up in Indian Village.
That was 2007.
Yeah.
I was on the board then. So when did you graduate?
I graduated in 2010.
Okay, so take a look at your diploma.
Okay.
And you might see a name. Congratulations, man.
That's awesome.
You probably don't remember me speaking at your graduation, which was actually the theme of my speech. So
honestly, when we talked on the phone, I was like, that voice kind of sounds familiar. It's the graduation voice. It's the graduation speech voice.
Wow.
Now look at your classmates. And
in the last few days, I've met a few folks who graduated your year and the year before and after, which was when I was signing the diplomas. So, that committee was formed in response to Irene and Sandy and some other storms. Sandy was the primary driver because it affected so much of the tri-state area. And so I think that was what gave the state the nudge.
With that $3 million though, what does that go towards? Like, how do you stop flooding?
Right. So You do a lot of little things. There's not a silver bullet, one thing is going to do it all. But there are a lot of things that you can do. Some of them are active and expensive. Some of them are active and not quite as expensive. And then some of them are adjustments to how we just do things in our community.
Right.
So an expensive example would be resizing retainer ponds up at the airport. That's an expensive, complicated project. The airport has done some of that work, more to do. We did some work on the Bowman Avenue Dam, which feeds the Blind Brook, and which is what affects Indian Village in the downtown area and all along, all the way to the harbor.
I hate to say it, it's kind of like a guilty pleasure to roll through Indian Village after the storms and see all the damage. It's like, all right, let's see how they didn't learn their lesson now.
It's well, they had to do a lot of work there. I mean, people had to raise their homes, and you know, it's really horrible. You live in a house, you put down your life savings, and the next thing you know, you're suddenly have a bill for $500,000 because you've got to raise your house and repair it. And you know, insurance, actually flood insurance, is capped at $250.
Right.
The time, I don't recall then if FEMA was giving grants or loans, but it's a really devastating situation.
Yeah, I was thinking
home.
that, like, who has to pay for that? Like, you have to pay for like the flooding damage, and then you have to pay for renovations to your house now too?
Yeah, homeowners doing all that.
Right.
City is simply giving out permits to allow people to raise their homes and, you know, try to make the construction process easier.
Right.
But one of the things that you can do is you can go through your building code with an eye towards flooding and say, what are all the things that contribute to flooding that our code could correct so that when people renovate or build in the first instance, they're building in a more flood resilient, storm resistant way.
Right.
And that's, in my mind, a lower cost kind of thing, because you're going to build a wall, you're going to build it anyway. So you need to, if you're putting in the drainage, put it in before you build the wall, not go back and rip out the wall and do it afterwards. You're going to build a foundation, put in the kind of water retention that you need, so that your water stays on your property, stays out of your home, but doesn't go draining in everyone else's home.
Right.
Do it when you've got that pit before you build the house.
Yeah.
All sorts of things like that. We have 3 floodplains in Rye. The Blind Brook is the one that gets the most attention because it has the most devastating impact on the downtown and Indian Village. But we also have a floodplain on Midland, which runs all along Midland Avenue, all the way down towards Playland Parkway, and hits the parkway where there are these pipes that help it drain through and come across, meet up with the Blind Brook and go into the Sound. There's some pipes, I think, that divert it directly into the Sound. Those pipes get clogged quite often, need to be cleaned out, but that backs up, and that affects a whole bunch of homes along Midland Avenue that experience terrible flooding. Then you have the Beaver Brook Swamp floodplain, which is on so that's
Beaver Brook Swamp.
Beaver Brook Swamp. So that's up by that runs between Rye and Harrison and into Mamaroneck.
Oh, I actually know where you're talking about. That's like Coolidge Avenue and over. Yeah. Okay.
That whole area. So that area gets terrible flooding, and those homes have been devastated. So there's a lot of work to be done around managing all 3 floodplains. We've been primarily focused on the Blind Brook. That's where most of that $3 million went, was to deal with those issues, which were the most urgent at the time.
Right.
And they continue to be urgent. But if we're going to address flooding in Rye, we need to look at all the floodplains. We need to look at how we are guiding people on new construction or renovations. We need to look at how our own storm drain system is working, and we've been doing that. The city has gone through a storm water restoration project, still going on. That was part of the Save the Sound lawsuit against a whole bunch of municipalities, and the municipalities have been responding by addressing their stormwater management.
How long is this process supposed to take so it's like the problem is resolved, so we don't have to worry about flooding?
Oh, you're looking at a long time. I mean, this has been a problem since 2007 that you and I remember so well. And of course, if you go back in the annals of Rye history, you know, they were talking about it in the 60s and 70s, lesser degree because the community wasn't as built up. But, you know, if we were to have all the money and be able to do all the projects, you're still probably looking at, you know, if you literally had all that, you're probably looking at 5 to 10 years to do all these things.
Okay.
And of course, we don't have all that money, so it becomes an iterative process. Each management of the community works with other communities and sees what they can do. And, you know, you have to collaborate with the airport, the county, our neighbors in Rybrook.
So that, like the reservoir you're talking about by the airport, that's that you're talking about. So that affects the water down here.
Well, it's, yes, the reservoir, but it's the airport has, rain on the airport drains off into the Blind Brook. It flows downstream. Some of it drains into the reservoirs behind the Kensico, you know, that area.
Right.
And some of it, more of it, drains into the Blind Brook. And there are these retaining ponds built around the airport to capture the water. So when you capture the water, you can control the flow. That's the whole idea of Beaverbrook Swamp, is to, not Beaverbrook, sorry, the dam, is to, there's a sluice gate on the dam, which lets the dam drain out on a regular basis. But when a storm is coming, you want to make sure that the dam is, that the dam is open and the water is out. Then you want to close the dam and let this thing fill. What you don't want is a full basin and then it storms and it just overflows. So, you know, it's kind of like you're just a tub. So we have retaining ponds around the airport. Those are controlled by the county. So there's a lot of collaboration that has to go on with different municipalities. If we walk over to Nursery Field, one of the big concerns there was, would a renovation of that contribute to flooding? People were very, very concerned about it. We used the same consultants, a branch of them, that we used on that governor's committee to analyze that field. And what they concluded was that the drainage plan was such that it would not contribute to flooding. But actually, the field would retain its own water. My hope is it actually improves the situation. We've done a lot of plantings and greenery there, so that.
Did they make that field turf yet, or no?
It is. It's all done. If we walk over, we can see it.
Oh, you trying to walk? Wow.
I'll walk wherever you want. I love walking around this town.
Wow.
So there's a lot of things. There were about 26 key items in that report about things that Rye should do, and I'd like to see us follow through on them. Some of them are near completed. Some of them were completed. There's things like just emergency management communications. Our police department and fire department have gone through swift boat training.
A lot of my friends are in the fire department. I see them on Facebook killing it with all the different types of training.
So it's really cool. They're able to go. You know, we hope people don't find themselves in those situations, but if they are in that situation, we have just the most phenomenal police and fire department at the ready to go out and help people. There are other things like parking, having a plan for people whose cars are parked in a neighborhood where their cars could get flooded out.
Indian Village parking lot, I saw a Jeep stacked on top of another Jeep.
So what is our warning system and what is the designated place for people to know, move your car here? And it's, in some ways, it feels very common sense. Oh, there's going to be a storm. I got a notice. I got to move my car. Just everyone needs to know where to move their car, right?
What's the answer?
And the answer is right now, they can put them up in the MTA lot. And that's fine. So you need to be able to help people in the first instance. I mean, the real plan has to be to make sure that nobody in Rye ever finds himself, you know, homeless because of a storm or, you know, taking on an unexpected mortgage and financial pressure because of a storm. It's you know, the perception of, there's all these expensive homes. Well, to each person, they're living in their own economy. And so whatever your home costs, if somebody suddenly says to you, oh, that's nice, you have a mortgage, here's another mortgage. Wait a minute, and that wasn't in the plan. So all of that, we really, it's the one existential crisis that Rye has to be on top of. And we've made some good progress in the last couple of years. There's been some times when, it kind of falls off the radar. When we finished that report in 2014, there was no action on those, on that federal funding for almost, I think it was 4 years. And we need to make sure it's top of mind with everything we do.
That's good to know.
And our parkland, you look at how our fields are designed. Are they flood-proof? Are they helping with storm mitigation? So we're walking along Midland Avenue. Here's Rye Rec, and the floodplain here, a lot of it has to do with water that runs underneath this area, and it's the other end of Midland, all the way down past the park, where you see the impact of a storm.
Let's walk around this path. We're gonna go around and go through the other exit. So we're gonna basically walk around up to the pavilion and stay on the path, basically. All right, Timmy? Yeah, that's crazy, because it's so funny. I don't think people realize when it comes to this flood prevention, it's not just about like fixing the dams and stuff. I never even thought about parking or even the training is part of that.
Yep.
I think that's crazy, and I think that's good that you think about the details.
There's so many things that we can do right here in Rye, and at the same time we should be working with our neighboring communities. The county has ways of supporting communities that come together with projects, and we need to leverage that a lot more. I've been always developing and maintaining, goes back to my school board days, really good relationships with our electeds in the Assembly and the Senate.
I just wanted to ask, as mayor, what changes would you do to, what would you do for flood that you're doing now that you would be doing as mayor? Like, was there anything different you would do, or?
Well, I would bring the consultants back, and I would pick up the plan and look at all 3 floodplains. When we brought the consultants back in 2022, their scope was limited to the Blind Brook. And I wasn't pleased with that narrow mission on the one hand. On the other hand, I was very happy that we were doing something. So, all right, let's do that.
It's a step forward, okay.
It's a step forward, and that's great. And so that was really good that we did that. But I think we need to be looking more broadly. Ida was the big shock. Before that, when Hurricane Irene hit, lots of people in the community said, well, that's an Indian Village downtown issue. It did affect people all the way out to Milton Harbor House area along Milton Road.
Right.
But there was this sense of, if you lived in other parts of the community, you were okay. Ida told everybody, because there had been 2 storms, Henri followed by Ida just 3 days later, everybody had flooding all over town. People's yards filled with water. The water couldn't be absorbed, and so it went into their basements, and there was damage all over town. The rain was so horrible, everyone discovered whatever was wrong with their roof. And so we had all sorts of different experiences going on, and that, to me, really, unfortunately, validated a lot of what was in that report, which is we need to be looking across the whole city and not just at one area. And that's a big apple to start biting into. But we can do it. And we did start, and I would just ramp this up.
That's what I was.
We started by saying we're going to have regular flood reports.
You're very adamant about this flooding, man.
Very, very adamant, because it's devastating effect.
Right.
So I want the city to have a very active, proactive reporting on it. I think the council needs to hear a report from our staff on a regular basis, and it allows for dialogue. There's some other good things going on.
And peace of mind for homeowners too. They know what the hell's going on.
Yeah, they know what's going on. I mean, I've talked to people who are very concerned about some of the bridges across the Blind Brook, and when are they going to get replaced? These things take a while, So there's projects that, we're ready to do. The county's going to come in and replace 2 bridges. There's another. The Nature Center's going to rip out and replace a bridge.
Oh, wow.
There's Locust Avenue bridges. There's a bunch of bridges that clog up that waterway.
Okay.
They need to be redesigned, rebuilt in a way that is storm friendly. And that work is being done, but then it's really important for the community to know that is going on.
Yep, I had no idea. I lived in Rye my whole life. I have no idea what's going on behind the scenes. This is why I'm happy I get to do this platform.
This is awesome.
Yeah,
that's great.
Let's transition forward though. Let's talk
Sure.
about recreational and stuff. I've seen that you're big on programs for the kids and stuff.
Yep.
Talk about a little bit about what you do for that.
Sure.
Now.
So my interest in sports for kids started when I was on the Board of Ed, and we instituted the CREW program. That was when I was president of the Board of Ed. There were some parents who wanted to get that going, and they worked with the schools. And CREW was a very, very successful program. It was actually starting up as you were leaving.
Right. Then all the good stuff started happening after I graduated. A whole new addition to the school.
Yep, the science wing, all that.
Wow.
So the thinking behind that was that there should be a sport for every kid. Every kid should have the opportunity to be an athlete if they want to. They don't have to, but if they want to. And in Rye, a lot of kids want to participate and be on a team and do things.
Oh, CREW, like the boat.
The boat, sorry.
Oh, I thought CREW was like an acronym for something like kids all run.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. No, CREW, the boat.
Yeah.
Right. So, if you didn't play a ball sport like basketball, baseball, football, lacrosse, your options were track and field.
Yep.
That's great. But we wanted there to be more. We also added
rugby too, right?
We've added rugby, that came after me, but we've added more and more sports. And I've been, my son benefited from all the athletics here in Rye. I coached Little League and soccer. There were better. All the success there is owed to the people who coached with me. They were really good. I was helpful in managing all the papers and things like that.
Right.
But you see how important it is. So it's really important that we have enough rec space for our kids, but we also need to have enough rec space for adults.
Okay.
We have adults who play softball here all summer long. We have adults playing tennis. Pickleball has been a big new sport in Rye. It's probably not that new anymore. We have people playing pickleball down here on the tennis courts, and so we have to think about athletics for everyone and outdoor activities for everyone. So you see the most obvious and prevalent is the kids playing, and that's great. We need to make sure they have that room.
Yeah.
The thing that I think we need to do, and I asked for it, and there's been some progress, is that we have a new rec plan.
Right.
It looks at all of our recreational facilities and looks at what people are wanting in terms of rec facilities in Rye. What do they need? And then making sure that we're using all of our facilities in the most effective way to create those opportunities for people. And there's a lot of people who aren't playing team sports. They want to go walk, bike, run. We have triathlons coming through here. We have road races come through here. So we just want the outdoor experience to be just very available and positive for everyone. And I think every neighborhood should have walking access to a park. And some neighborhoods have parks in them. Some of those parks need a lot of work.
Let's talk about it.
And we'll talk about that. And some neighborhoods are further away from parks than maybe we would like.
Right.
But we need to make sure there's a greenway for them to easily get there.
Do those neighborhoods? Do you feel like those neighborhoods need parks? I feel like when I think of neighborhoods that you're talking about, like Forest Ave and that side of town, I feel like those. I might just be judging, but I feel like those people just stay to their own. They have it all at their house already. There's no really need to play at the park.
Well, they do want to go to the park,
Yeah.
and if you're on Forest Avenue, one of the things is we're going to be putting in sidewalks, so it's safe for kids to walk along the sidewalk and get over to Rye Town Park,
Yep.
or cross over and come right over here to Rye Rec.
That's a big change, man. The sidewalks finally, man, on Forest Ave.
They've been talking about that since I got here, which means they were talking about it since you were little.
Yeah.
Which was
8 years
before
old.
I
Yeah.
got, and so it's finally happening, and I'm really so happy with how the city, when we got to it, I'm really so happy with how our staff approached it. I walked Forest Avenue with Lori Fontaines, who was on the council with me at the time. She's moved to Europe. She lives in Paris
awesome.
now. But Lori and I walked the path using a little map that talked about where the sidewalks were planned to go. And we walked and we talked to people, and we made notes, and we took them back to the city staff, and we said, we got a lot of comments, and people are concerned about this intersection, and maybe the sidewalk should be on the other side over here and over there. And the city staff was so awesome. They took our notes and they went and did the same thing. They met with people in the locations that we highlighted as hearing concerns, and they redesigned the plan before submitting it. So we have such a responsive
to go this way.
city hall. If they know about something, they're great at addressing it. They're also great at spotting things and addressing them too.
Good team.
But it was really nice to see that, nobody said to us, oh, well, the plans are done. No, they were like, well, we got to get out there. And so kudos to our staff. They are the best. We are so lucky. And this area is the product of staff innovation. And it's actually behind this building is the amphitheater.
That's what I'm trying to walk towards.
We'll get there.
Let's go. So Tim, around the corner, there's like a outdoor venue type looking thing.
And you wouldn't come up with this unless you were part of our staff that works here every day and looks around and sees opportunities and says, hey, what if we did this? Right? If you just sort of brought somebody into Rye and said, look around and see if there's an opportunity, they might not.
You got
they might not think of this. But somebody said, I think we're missing an opportunity there. It's great.
It is pretty cool.
Great place.
I got to come when it's live and in action. Check it out.
Yeah, come in the summer when they do things. And so I hope we do more, and I think there are going to be opportunities for things that the Art Center is going to be doing, to be, collaborating with this space. That's really between them and the rec department, but they're just walking distance to the Art Center.
Yeah, they definitely collab.
A lot of, and this whole park was renovated and redesigned by our rec department.
Awesome.
And so when it comes to outdoor activities and recreation parks in Rye, I think one of the most important things is for government leadership to be listening both to what the community is saying they need and what they're trying to do, and listening to your staff, seeing what they're bringing to you as opportunities. Gagliardo is a great example. So I went up to Gagliardo. I have one kid. He played baseball up there.
Okay.
I coached there. We had a lot of fun. That park, the baseball part of the park worked really well. When we were there, I see that it's gotten some attention, but the rest of the park is really sad.
I want to fix the basketball court desperately. The basketball court has never been ever looked good ever.
Yeah.
As long as I've been alive.
That court is in terrible disrepair, and it's facing the wrong way. So you're on that basketball court,
and the sun is hitting your face crazy for one.
Yep. Then the second thing is, if you miss the net, which maybe you don't, but I would, you're either sending your basketball into the
baseball field
or into the baseball field. And if there's a game going on in the baseball field, that's a real bummer.
This man is thinking outside the box.
So I want to, at the very least, can we just turn the court the other way? You won't have the sun issue. You won't have the ball going in a picnic or baseball area. And even if there's no game going on, there's a fence. You got to hop over to get the basketball.
Tell me about it, man.
I think that needs to be fixed. But one of the other things that really, really struck home when I was up there was how loud it is. And there's that wall between the park and 95.
Yep.
And it's made of wood. Mm-hmm. and you just hear all the 95 noise, and it is
The train.
so loud.
Yeah.
All that noise, and the train comes through on the other side. I mean, you just have the most intense noise coming through. We need to address that with a proper sound barrier. The playground area, also all in disrepair, it needs to be ripped out and replaced,
Yes.
is down by that wall.
Yeah.
I would not put a little kid on a swing set with that noise
there.
because it's so loud. That's not good for little ears.
Yeah.
And we need to rethink how that park is laid out and whether that's where the playground area ought to be. Maybe
All the way, because I feel you on that, because when the parents are trying to watch the games where they have their kids there, the kids are all the way on the other side of the park playing on the playground. They can't watch the game and the kids at the same time.
That's right. And the kids are,
By the highway.
by the highway. And, they're not going to get onto the highway. There's fencing and stuff.
Yeah.
But the noise is so damaging. And if you're a parent calling out to your kid, they're not going to hear you. I mean, they really aren't. And if you're a kid down there calling out to a parent, they're not going to hear you because it is so loud. I was there meeting with some residents, and it was ironic because we wanted to have a really nice conversation. We literally all had to be yelling at each other in order to just hear, and then we moved away. It's that park should be a real hub in that neighborhood. That's a great neighborhood, and it would be beautiful if it had this kind of thing going on. And there's no reason why it shouldn't. And so my number one priority in Parks and Rec is that we need to deal with that. That is just, it's been ignored. I don't think there would be much disagreement about it being a high priority. But
Do you know if there's anything going on now? I've read there's been applications for grants and stuff like that.
Yeah. There have been. We had a grant application in a prior cycle. It didn't get. It didn't win the grant.
Okay.
There's a new grant application cycle. We've either put it in or will be putting it in. So it's very much top of mind. The noise issue is now getting attention by our interim city manager. And, I'm looking forward to seeing what kinds of options there are for that. These are, unfortunately, some of these things are really expensive, and some have a lot of bureaucracy because you're dealing with state and federal highway authorities when it comes to sound barriers. But I don't have we don't have yet a full appreciation of what the different things are that need to be done or could be done.
Right.
But we do have a sense of urgency about addressing that area. And that's something that, really, that neighborhood deserves it, because it's the one neighborhood in Rye where it's really hard to walk to any other rec facilities. Right?
Yes, isolated.
It is isolated. So if you're, as you said, if you're down on Forest Avenue, you can make your way to this rec field, or you can make your way to Rye-Town Park.
Probably part of a country club too.
Right. You might be, and you can go use those facilities. If you're in where I live, which is off of Rye Beach Avenue, I can walk to Rye-Town Park. I can walk to Disrow Park. I can walk to Nursery Field. 3 parks right there.
Yeah.
And when I say I can walk, there's also a big difference between an adult walking and a kid walking.
Yeah.
Right? So little kids, there's a point where you want them to be able to go, with their friends, and they don't want adults with them, but you want it to be a safe pedestrian or bicycle way to get someplace.
Right. But
up by Gagliardo, that neighborhood, and that used to be the election district I covered. It might still be. We divide up the city. The city's divided up into different election districts, and different people cover different ones at different times, and sometimes we move around. You don't necessarily cover the one you live in.
Gotcha.
So I've spent a lot of time walking around up there and talking to people, and the thing that I notice is you just can't. A little kid or a teenager can't easily get from there to another park. So you want to play basketball, you're not coming here. You want to go to your own
You don't want to go to the
Gagliardo
rec.
Park.
That's what I had to do growing up. We can't invite people to play basketball at the Gagliardo. We got to all meet at the rec.
Right.
And I'm the only one that lived on that side of town, so I got to go.
Yeah, so you got a long hike.
Yeah.
And that's not fair. And it's doubly not fair because you have a park right there.
Right.
Why can't we use this one? So we have to fix that. That's a big priority.
Does that have to go through like grants to get it fixed? Because there's people that have companies that are willing to help out. Is that an option? Does it have to be done through the city's way? Can it be done like I don't want to say unconventional way, but maybe a different approach to getting it fixed?
You know, there's a couple of phases to these things. The first one is, let's decide what we need and want to do there and budget it out, see what it's really going to cost. Then let's take a look and see what kind of funding opportunities there are. Are there state grants that'll help? Sometimes the state grants say, we'll match money that you, the city, have. And then sometimes there are opportunities with industry or businesses in the area that want to sponsor something.
Yeah.
And you know, we should be open to all ideas. Sometimes there are folks who want to do something and it makes sense, and the city could say, "Yep, we think that's a good thing that you want to do, but we want you to help us do. You know, it's good for you,
Right.
and it's doesn't really matter to us, but we like you. If we let you do that, we'd like you to help us, you know, accomplish this other thing that we're doing." So a lot of communities do that. In New York City, when there's development work going on and the developers need some kind of waiver or something, and the city looks at the whole thing and says, well, that's in everybody's good interest, but we want you to repair the park or create open space.
Yeah.
And you see that all over New York City. Many communities do that here. There are communities in, I mean, it's kind of random, but I just happen to know about a community in Massachusetts that just has a fund where they say, well, we don't know exactly what we need you to help, or maybe what we're trying to do is too big for and not fair for you to help. But you know, we get a fee, and we put the fee into this fund, and then the fund grows, and then the fund enables us to do things we want to do. I know there's one community,
like an auxiliary fund, would you say?
Yeah, and they have a reserve, and what they do is they get certain fees in that they then apply to acquire land adjacent to parkland, so they can expand their parkland or expand their beachfront. I might be misremembering, but I think Pelham went through, was able to, had a fund and was able to have a lot of support for redoing some of their municipal buildings.
Right.
Because these projects are expensive, and the city, taxpayers can only cover so much.
Right.
And your taxes actually, so our budget each year is a little over $50 million, and it grows with cost of living, but just let's use 50. Well, around 30 of it comes from taxes.
Okay.
The other 20 comes from fees and all sorts of other revenue sources, sales
tickets,
taxes,
parking tickets?
Probably some from parking tickets, mortgage tax fees, building permits, all sorts of other things. So a lot of things are covered not by your tax bill, because our taxes would be quite extraordinary if your household taxes were paying for everything the city was doing. So our costs are really designed to have your taxes pay for the general operation of the city, your garbage pickup, your road maintenance, these things.
Are there grants for like recreational things?
Yeah.
Oh, can you go into detail about that?
They'll say, there's funding available for, climate smart activities, and then it'll tell you all the different climate smart things you can do, including recreation space.
Right.
There'll be grants for water management. There'll be grants for communities that need fiber optic and aren't getting whatever
yeah.
communications they need. When I worked in public broadcasting, we were clued into all of that because we were always trying to get communications out to people who are in neighborhoods that maybe didn't have traditional cable service.
Oh, I didn't see. That's something I didn't even know
broadcast service,
existed. Wow.
So there's all sorts of government grants that are available for different kinds of things. And then
Yeah. I feel like you have so much knowledge and you have held so many like positions of power. Why do you want to become mayor? That's just a thing on like a bucket list. Like, is there something deeper? Why?
it's
why
very
become
simple.
mayor?
I love Rye, and I love living here. I'm so glad that my wife and I came here 25 years ago and raised our son here. We love being here. We've made great friends. It's a wonderful community. And Rye has a real tradition of volunteerism, people giving their time all the time to different parts of the city, and people do the thing that they can do. You know, some people are great coaches and they coach your kids in sports. Other people are great on the finance committee for the schools or for the city. Other people are great on the audit committee for the schools or the city. Other people are great on the traffic and pedestrian safety committee.
Okay.
People give their time. People give their time to the Nature Center, the Arts Center,
Square House
the
too.
YMCA, the Historical Society. The
Yeah.
Square House is part of that. People give their time on the school board. So at any given time, I don't know. There's so many people who are volunteering for something.
Right.
And when we came here, we saw that. And so for me, it's about volunteering in a way where I think I'm, you know, I have skill set and knowledge.
You can bring change.
I can bring some good change. At the same time, you know, Rye's an interesting place. Everyone wants Rye to stay as the Rye they know and love, but they want to fix and improve the parts that need fixing and improving, like Gagliardo, right?
Yeah.
People don't want Rye to suddenly have super tall buildings like what got built in Harrison, for example.
Right, where the train station is?
But where the train station is. Now that might be fine for Harrison and work with their planning and what that community wanted.
Right.
But it's been made very clear to me that nobody wants to see our downtown look like that. People like our downtown to be this cute.
Like a historical looking.
Yeah, it's lovely. And it's very, you know, restaurant friendly now. It had some tough times when
I remember it used to be a bank town. There's banks everywhere.
Oh yeah, that was and that was because you know, digital,
Crossing to go left.
you know, the internet sales. You know, everyone started buying stuff online.
Yeah.
And all little stores were struggling and going out of business.
Right.
The real estate, the banks were just good tenants for the building owners. But then we had all these banks. We had 11 banks at one. I think it was 11. It was like every bank I could think of had a branch there.
Right.
And, you know, that was kind of just ruins the downtown. Why do I need to go?
Yeah.
There's nothing here for me. I can go to coffee and I guess I could deposit
Get a slice of
money in
pizza.
11 different banks.
Yeah.
Now we have a really thriving restaurant culture down there,
Yep.
and boutiques have come back, and you know, there's bakeries and coffee shops,
Yeah.
and it's really a really wonderful hub for people to go to.
Yeah,
So
people are traveling all over to come check it out now.
yeah, and so we want to protect all the best parts of Rye.
Right.
And then we want to be planning for the improvements we need so that Rye continues to meet the needs of its residents.
Yeah, this is all new. I'm sorry, but I just realized they put a whole actual softball field back there with
Yep.
the fence and a scoreboard.
Yep, they just opened that up. That's for girls softball.
Finally.
Yep,
They used to do them dirty.
yep. I mean, this is the science wing. It's the
Yeah,
last thing.
this was trailers. Right when I graduated, they were installing the trailers.
That was the last thing I worked on the
Wow.
Board of Ed. And
Wow. You don't understand, Timmy, this is the man himself, bro. Like, this is the guy that you see, like, you hear at your graduation, bro. I didn't even realize that was him.
So I'll tell you about the science wing.
Yeah.
So those science classrooms were, you remember, I mean, they were
Yeah.
horrible. They were from the 50s. They hadn't
Yeah.
been upgraded. And we really needed new facilities. And so the board, you know, started working on that. and I chaired the architecture committee, the architect selection committee. And I met with all these architects along with the superintendent and some other school officials, and there were probably some board members on as well. And I said to each architect, listen, you're going to be, we think the site for this, we didn't know exactly. We thought it would probably go where it is, but there were other ideas. We said, where do you think it should go? And remember, this is one of the most beautiful buildings in our community.
Yeah.
They're
like, what is that, a college? No, that's the high school, man.
Right. I mean, the kids would call it Hogwarts.
Right.
I mean, it was, and so we had some of them, and I just said, you know, what I don't want to see is you slap some brick addition on the side of this thing, or cinder block addition, that might have all the things inside that we need for science, but just looks awful. I said, I want you to drive from Playland to Fireman's Circle. I want you to see the high school, the beautiful homes, the churches, Blind Brook Lodge. Then I want you to loop around Fireman's Circle. I want you to come back Post Road, and you're going to see the churches again. You're going to see the nature center. You're going to see the high school, and you're going to see beautiful tree-lined streets all the way out to Mamaroneck.
That's awesome.
If you ruin this campus, I will be run out of town on a rail, and let me tell you, I'm taking you with me. And we had, the architect we used was so great. He was the nicest guy and so smart. And I said, inside, it could look like, you know, mission control at NASA. You know, it's got to be high-tech science, whatever you need. But the outside, it's got to work within this campus. And so this guy came back and he said, we went to the quarry where the original stone for Rye High School was
We're in the nature center?
quarried. No, over up in Westchester or Putnam County someplace. We went to the quarry, and we can get the same stone.
That's awesome.
It's still open, still operating. We can get you the same stone, and we can make this look like it was always here.
Wow.
And so it's a beautiful, beautiful addition. And so the community, I think, really appreciated that, because a lot of people in the community, you know, we use the schools, but we stay here a lot longer than our time in school. And we want Rye to be lovely all the time. So that's an example of how do you protect the very best we have. We have this gorgeous throughway
the
here.
original, that's what you got to do. Apples for apples.
Yeah, and then, but we need something new. Another thing would be, you know, things around us are changing, and the needs in Rye are changing.
Yep.
So people need to be thinking about, or the city hall needs to be thinking about, all right, we're kind of at maximum density, right? There's not a lot of room for anything more, but people are going to be renovating and upgrading and changing, and some things are going to be torn down and replaced because that happens. So we're kind of in a redevelopment phase. And it helps capture what does the community want. When we're sitting at the city council and we're making a decision about a policy or a new law or an amendment to a law, we're trying to do what you would do if you were sitting there with me, and you had all the information and we're briefed on everything. What would you do? You're counting on me to do that.
Yeah.
So the thing that's going to help me and help all of us is if we have this plan. It lays out kind of a strategy, a set of values. And I was like, well, this is what the community wants. So if the community says we want lots and lots of rec space, we are all about outdoor team sports.
Right.
And that's going to be in the plan. And then that becomes something that helps us make decisions. You know, oh, we might have an opportunity to expand a park. Well, the community would be excited about it if we can add a field for play.
Yeah.
Or we don't have enough pickleball courts. The community's really wanting more of that. We need to know how that fits in. Otherwise, you're just kind of making decisions in the moment based on kind of what you think. And your planning commission and your land use boards are all really talented people, but they're informed by a code that is informed by a plan that is from 1985.
Yeah, no, that doesn't make any sense. That's like, I feel like even if we made a code for 2016, it wouldn't even be the same type of thing for 2025. It's just a different time already.
Right. The other bridge is the Oakland Beach Beach Avenue Bridge, which is right over there that crosses the brook over here. But yeah, all this floods from Blind Brook. When those bridges are replaced, there's marshlands back there. The idea is to give the water more places to go. And if you can go follow its natural objective,
Right.
and there's marshland to absorb it, then the homes are better protected around.
That makes sense. Let's check out the marshlands. I mean, let's check out the nursery field.
Yeah.
So I remember for like years, this was like a great debate. When there was like votes, like we don't want it turf, we want to keep it grass.
Oh yeah,
It went
that went
turf.
on for a long time. Well,
They caved in. This is beautiful, actually. I didn't even notice this was all
It
here.
really is stunning. And one of the things that,
Look at this grass.
there were a lot of different concerns. The driver was the community wanted more place for kids to be able to play sports. Totally understandable, totally reasonable. Very, very appropriate want. The concern that this neighborhood had was it was kind of a quiet park with not a lot of activity.
It's already better than a Gagliardo, by the way, but it's not my problem, not my business.
It is very, very, very much. It's very state of the art.
They put love into this one.
So a lot of these homes were concerned that we were just going to put this field in and they were going to just have this sort of stadium in their backyard. There were also concerns about flooding. There were concerns about what the material of the field would be made out of. So one of the things that I proposed and we included in the arrangement, because this was privately funded, community raised money for this.
See, that's what we could do at Gagliardo, by the way. That's what I'm trying to say.
You could. I think in the first instance, the city should be responsible, but we should be partnering with everybody to see what we can do. But this field, so this was a much smaller field before, and all of these folks said, well, it's going to be a huge, big, noisy field. Well, what we put in when we accepted the gift, we said to the community, this is great. You're giving us the money to put this in. Big ask, big donations, a lot of donations, but big budget for this. What I wanted the city to do, and we've done it, is take all that area, and all the area around it, and do plantings and trees so that the neighbors are looking out and saying, oh, this is better than what we had before. Yeah. And I also want my privacy. They weren't feeling, they're concerned about, part of why they had privacy in the past was the field wasn't used that much. And it was also used for a much smaller degree of activity. This field is longer and wider than it was before. It's a regulation field. So the real important thing that we did here to match the gift of the field was to do all of this play space and all of this beautiful, all those plantings there between the field and those homes, so they would feel that, oh, my backyard is not right up against a playing field, but the field's over there. Same thing for these folks. And
this was like your decision? Was it your decision that did this, or
this was this was the council that accepted the gift. I was part of the council then, and when we accepted the gift and passed the resolution, there were 3 of us who wrote that agreement, and 2 of us, and I was one of those, said, look, if you're going to do this, you need to make sure that the rest of this is all made really pretty,
matches
really
the vibe.
beautification. Makes people feel like their neighborhood is being really respected and their privacy is considered. And so what we did was we knew how brilliant our DPW is from what they'd done over at RAC. So what we put in was an amount of money that the city would have available to do all of this work, and then said, look, put in your field, have the city design and do their thing, and then be able to come back after a season and say, well, did it grow in right? So I know the city has come out and met with a couple of folks living up there
Oh, wow.
Those are a whole bunch of little houses up there.
Yep.
They all look down, and those tree plantings are all being put in so that those houses have the privacy that they had before.
Right.
They have it again, and the cities
Wow.
come out and met with them because some of the trees, a lot of trees were taken out.
Yep.
Also, to put this in, there were trees that were dead, dying, very old. So there was a lot of sort of cleanup that went on there, and that left a lot of that area exposed. So they put in all these plantings to help, restore privacy there. And they've come back and checked on it to say, is that working? I'd
Yeah.
like to see the same kind of attention at Gagliardo Park. And
You're not alone, man.
and I think that, and I think that it's great when the public says we're going to donate, and that's lovely. But I think the city, it's incumbent on the city in the very first instance to develop a plan and to say, this is what we're trying to do. This is how we're going to fund it. And this is the time it's going to take. And if the public feels that they can speed it up, that's perfectly fine. We should have a program that supports that and allows for that. But the responsibility for Park and Rec is on your city government. And the city government has plenty of ways of funding things and should start with, what do we need to do? How are we going to do it? What is the whole plan? It should not be a requirement that all these things are privately funded. Yeah. It's very nice, and I would never say we shouldn't be working with groups that want to do that, but we need to plan and be aware of what we can do, because there won't always be groups that can do it.
So could you say, as
tapped out?
So could you say, as mayor, you would consider, I guess, allocating some budget towards these parks?
Yeah, absolutely. And we need to do a rec plan. And one of the things we agreed to do when we did this plan was to do a rec plan for the city of Rye. And I know there's been some work on it. And it was at a few meetings ago that Ryan Coyne, who's our head of DPW, showed some options for fixing Gagliardo.
Wow.
And he also showed ways of looking at it where you could look at it together with all the other fields. One idea was maybe take the baseball field out and put in a rectangular field. And that's a conversation that has to be had with that neighborhood. They may not like that.
I think that's messed up. I ain't gonna lie.
Right. See,
that's messed up.
That might be a
The whole legend of Samuel Gagliardo, his home
is baseball.
His house was where home plate was, supposedly growing up. That's what the myth was.
Right.
But I think that's messed up.
So that
slow down, hold on.
Right.
Going too far.
So that's the kind of thing. Well, see, that's great to know. So he showed us a bunch of things. One was, just restoring the field that's there, moving some things around. One was, what if we moved the type of sport there? Then we could, he looks at it like a puzzle with other things. But the very point you're raising now, I think, is extremely important.
You can't just make any changes.
Right. We all experience Rye through the neighborhoods we live in.
Yeah.
And to me, the primary lens in all our decision making has to be very neighborhood centric. I live in my house. I experience Rye there. I experience it in my street, in the areas I walk to. That's my orbit. Mm-hmm. I spend most of my time in that part of Rye.
Yep.
If you're working for the city or you're on a commission or something, you're spending a lot of time in other places. But for most of us, most of the time,
let's keep walking.
Even when I was on the Board of Ed, I spent all my time in my neighborhood and then at the schools.
Yeah.
I think it's really important to sit down with a neighborhood and say, hey, here's a bunch of ideas. What do you think? Before we get too far down the line. And if the neighborhood is like, no, this has always been about baseball. It's part of the culture of our neighborhood.
Yeah.
Well, then we need to do that. And if
I want to be a part of this process. Is that possible? Sit in at least.
Yeah.
I don't want to I don't necessarily have to say, but from what I know from growing up in this community, baseball field, playground, basketball court, and I feel like instead of where the playground is, it's like the sandbox and stuff.
Yeah.
We could make that into like a dog park area because everybody likes running the dogs on the baseball field, but instead of, and then they get frustrated when the DPW locks the gates up during the winter and everything. So I feel like you should have a designated dog park by where you don't want the kids to play back there. Then move all that up to where like the slides and that main, whatever you call that jungle gym, whatever it is now, to make that a fun area for the kids right in the middle of the park, and keep the baseball field how it is, because that's like the nostalgic, classic, almost like historical part of Rye.
I think having somebody like yourself, having yourself engaged in all that is really important. One of the things that I think whenever we do a project is we should have the neighborhood,
a rep from the neighborhood
involved, early on, to be that voice. And when I was up at Gagliardo, I don't know, in the spring, I think it was, and I've been up there a lot. Again, it was a district area I cover, and my kids played up there. I met with some folks, and I said, I think you should start a Friends of Gagliardo Park. And it becomes your neighborhood communications. Some other neighborhoods have done things like that. It's not a formal organization, it's just an email thread. Here's our email.
A Facebook group.
We share, it could be a Facebook group. We share what's going on, we share what our thinking, and we can communicate with each other. And so they did that. The very next day, a woman wrote to me and said, we now have Friends of Gagliardo Park @gmail or whatever it was. And
Interesting.
I have it at home. And I said, you can also use that to collect ideas and communicate with the city. And then there's sort of somebody from the city can say, hey, we're going to be taking a look at Gagliardo. We can put out some notices. We can also send a note to Friends of Gagliardo saying, by the way, we've done a grant application. We're doing some planning now, or we have some thoughts, and that's something that they could be doing up there. And I think that's a way for lots of people to get involved. There's also the Rec Commission. And one of the things is that every year we put people on these committees and boards and commissions, and we need to be constantly putting that out to the community at large and saying who wants to participate, who's new. There should be calls for people to sign on. There should be really good communications about that. And at times there are, and at times there aren't. The model at the schools was there was always a lot of communication about that. Things work a little differently in schools. They sort of march to a calendar. But I think the city needs to be always reaching out and saying who's interested in this. Again, people volunteer. There's no shortage of people willing to step up and volunteer. I just think we should have, that's an area. So if you want to be involved, that's a place where you could be definitely involved. You could be on a board and commission, on the, or in the friend group up there.
Friend group is not enough, man.
Right.
I had a plan last year during the winter. I had talked to Aaron, who's the head at the Rye Rec.
Yeah.
And I wanted to bring back the Rye Summerfest. I'm not sure if you're aware of what the Summerfest was, but when I was younger, a gentleman by the name of Doug Carey, he did like a Leaders of Tomorrow Rye Historical Enrichment Program.
Oh, that's great.
And that's when we were taking field trips to the John Jay House, the Knapp House, the Square House, and learning about all the mile markers from back in like the revolutionary times. And what we would do after the end of that, we'd do something called the Summerfest at Gagliardo. And it was a pie eating contest, relay races, prizes, music, a 12-piece band.
That's great.
It stopped maybe 2006, and I was trying to bring it back. And like I said, I'm got the community behind me. I had companies and people willing to sponsor, but it was just hard to pitch it. Aaron was like, I did an elaborate game plan to run down expenses, and Aaron was just like, there's nobody. We're not gonna do it.
Right. Well, I think
what would your process be if you want to do something like that? And I was gonna do it as like a fundraiser to raise money for the basketball court. So that's what the idea was.
Right.
What could I have done differently, maybe a different approach to maybe get a Summerfest going again?
Well, I think one of the things is really leveraging the neighborhood behind it. and coming to the city council, presenting it, sharing with people what you want, sharing with the rec commission what you want. And a lot of these things happen because people have little campaigns for the thing that they're interested in people being aware of, and getting a lot of people engaged around it. There's a wonderful example of, we're going to be renaming Station Plaza on Saturday, and that's because a group in the community said we really need to be doing this, and reflecting on the heritage of Rye. And I think that something like this, you bring it back, you sit down with Aaron and say, what in my plan, if you could do it, what in here works, what doesn't work, how would we shape it? I'd like it to be a really sound plan, and maybe it already is, but get her, she might say, listen,
I gotta guarantee the vision. That's what it is.
Right. If she says, look, the vision is good, the ideas are good, it's simply the budget is far more than we've ever spent on something like this.
Yeah.
A question might be, hey, what's a budget what
Give me
is
something
the
to
kind
work
of
with.
budget? I can reshape it. Or if she says, look, we don't like to do, I'm making it up, we don't like to do pie eating contests. I don't know why, but, and you're like, oh, all right, fine. That's not core to the plan. It's not.
Yeah, we can scrap it, but whatever we got to do to get the yes.
So what are the things that work? What are the things that are more problematic to the city manager? Hey, this is something our neighborhood wants to do. Here are all the people who are signing on to just say, we'd like to see this happen.
Gotcha.
Hey, maybe it's tied to some restoration of Gagliardo Park, or maybe it's tied to announcing that there will be restoration of Gagliardo Park. So it's kind of like, hey, the park's kind of not looking great right now, but we're having this festival. We're getting a lot of people up here. People are seeing it, enjoying that the space is here. And now people can say, oh, this will be cool, and imagine when it's nicer, and then you get the community behind that.
Yeah.
And so I think if you just share these ideas, and then you talk to people you talk to the newspaper, you talk to
my friend
Jay
Richard Giacovis, it works for Fox 5. He was the one that put it in my ear to, not make a commotion, but bring it to the people like you, people that are actually in these rooms. Yeah, and you get everybody excited about it, and then people start saying, hey, this is something that, we can do. There's a lot of people want it to happen. With some shaping, it becomes doable. And that's how you get it off the ground. That's how Nursery Field got done. When we did the football field at the stadium here, I had just come on the Board of Ed. And there was a group of alumni who wanted to replace that field. And that field was in terrible shape, and we had done at the time a lot of analysis, and the smart concept back then was that an artificial turf field was the appropriate field for that stadium, and it was something that was really beyond what the school budget could handle, but what it started with was the school agreeing, everybody agreeing, that field something needed to be done about that field. Our football stadium field was I remember it was a big old dirt patch in the middle.
It was a mess. It was not.
It looked like Gagliardo now.
It wasn't safe for regular play, and so the school, was very clear about the need. This group of alumni said, we want to help. They really promoted the idea, and everyone got behind it. You had the school community, the alumni, and the administration, and the board, everyone rowing in the same direction, because there were a few people, very much like yourself, going around and saying, how do we get you all talking about this? And there were articles in the paper, and there was just a lot of support. And again, that's one where they did raise local private money to make a gift.
I'm telling you, that's the key.
So I think those things are always, the door should always be open for that. I just, it should be. We should always be, and if our plans are out there, and people can see what our plans are, then they can see what we're trying to do.
Exactly. Going straight to me.
And
bring it home.
we wanted to launch a bunch of programs in this foreign language starting in the elementary schools.
Oh, wow.
I wanted to see us support crew and squash, and I wanted to see some, there were things that we needed to do in the English language arts curriculum and the math curriculum. We knew we were going to be doing a science wing. We had this list of things we wanted to do.
Yeah.
But it was a very financially challenging time. So we showed the community what we were doing. We also showed them that we could do it without raising taxes the way we had in the past. So we actually were planning on a tax cap at the time. We said, one day the state's going to pass this. They're going to limit our ability to raise funds. So we're going to go to the community and we're going to show them that we're already doing that.
Yeah.
And they'll be supportive of all the things we want to do if we show them what we're doing and why.
Right.
And so we actually put out multiple tax cap compliant budgets when there wasn't one. And that garnered an enormous amount of trust because, and we were able to show people, look, we can just allocate the resources we already have. So we need you to come out and support these budgets. They're very conservative, but we're able to add these programs without taxes skyrocketing.
Yeah.
We did it. And I think that for me was a great experience with the community to be able to talk about what we do. And I sent letters to the community explaining what we were working on.
What about like media? Is there anything, have you ever thought about implementing anything like that? Maybe like technology, computer skills, podcasting?
Sure. So the Rye TV used to be in studios at the high school.
Yeah, I was part of that program. RCTV.
Now Rye TV is a collaboration between the city and I believe the Rye Arts Center.
Okay.
So I think that there's some great opportunity there to expand community opportunities around tech and for kids to work in. And
I just think I'm curious about. That's what I love about these walk and talks. I got all these ideas in my mind and all these questions that I finally get to talk to the people that are in charge. So.
Well, I would have a conversation. When I say you should have a conversation with, that was you. Should have a conversation with Nicole Levitsky, who's our head of communications and technology. And I think she can share with you some of the things that we have already here and what some of her vision is. She's made a lot of progress. We just did our whole new sound system within City Hall was completed in the last few years, and just creates better technology for our city meetings so that the community can again see what's going on. So I think that's a great lead for you to chat with her and see what she's up to, what her thinking is, and how it might tie into some of the things that you're doing, because I think this is great, and I think you should be doing this with our city manager, with other members of the city council, with some of the boards and commissions that can tell you what they're doing. I mean,
what's going on in the city in a nice dumbed down way.
Very accessible. Here's what's going on, and you can take it to some of the nonprofits as well. Sit down with Adam Levy at the Rye Arts Center and say, hey, what's going on here? And Sabrina over at the YMCA, and what's going on in some of the nursery schools and churches, all of these places, in the synagogue, and what's going on at the nature center. They're all doing really interesting things, and sometimes having little digestible podcasts are really good opportunities. The other thing is collaborate with the Rye Record or myrye.com, and these are outlets that people come to, and maybe there's ways to link up with them or team up with them on some of these things. They might be interested in featuring some of your work, just like they have guest columnists all the time. People write letters and articles for them. You could be writing videos for them.
I and Rye, man. I see what's going on.
Yeah. So I think you got something great going here.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
From what I got from this interview, the school,
Mhm.
flooding,
Mhm.
and
4 years on the council.
4 years on the council. But what are like some of the big changes that you made while being in these chairs, in these rooms?
Sure. So,
Give me 3.
all right, on the schools, we did foreign language.
Oh, so that happened. So they
We
do
did it.
foreign language
We
in
put foreign
elementary.
language starting in elementary school, starting in 2007, maybe, roughly then, 2008, whenever it was. We did. We added crew and squash. We redid the math curriculum, the English language arts curriculum. We did the science wing. We prepared the city school system for the incoming tax cap. That's not as exciting as some of the programmatic improvements that we made. But we got the city ready for a new kind of financial reality. I think that's been very successful in that we were able to make that transition without it being disruptive. On the flood committee, we brought in the governor's flood committee. We brought in $3 million worth of grants. We did that very thoughtful engineering report. It's still very good. We've made progress on those items. We should continue to do that. On the council, the things that I've done in many instances, because of the way the council works, it's been a minority voice. I've always stood up for sustainability. Let's make climate smart decisions. I supported Westchester Power, which we passed. I supported some of the changes to our zoning codes, our land use codes, because I felt that they help with managing development in Rye. Very supportive of getting the downtown business district planning analysis done. We advocated for that in January. They did the work. They came back with some specific recommendations. All of that, one is limiting building height and changing our height limitation to 35 feet instead of 40, which made a lot of sense. 5 feet makes a big difference for a variety of reasons. They also recommended that we develop architectural standards, design standards, to help ensure that projects coming into the city to replace things or redevelop areas meet standards that are in keeping with the kind of small city aesthetics that we all love. Right. So those are some of the forward-thinking things we've done. I
like that. Let me ask you this now.
Yeah.
What are some changes that we could see if elected mayor?
Mm-hmm.
Some like direct, like, oh, that's new. Or some direct changes that we could see.
Absolutely. So one of the things that we will be addressing is comprehensive planning, where we will lay out for the whole community, working with the community, actually all the different things we want to hear what people want, and we want to be able to lay out what they are going to be getting. What is that strategic way of thinking and making decisions? So that's kind of high level processy, but more specifically, we need to address parking. Parking downtown is becoming ever more of a challenge. We need to repair parking lots. We need to put in parking lots that have EV charging stations as part of the building. I want to see that. I want to see us achieve climate smart silver status, which is a state designation. When you achieve that status, it means your community is doing many, many things that are climate forward thinking. They're recognizing climate change, they're recognizing the stress that puts on infrastructure, and they're making a more resilient community, and that becomes a very effective tool for attracting grants from the state in order to do projects that further that mission. We will be one of the most concrete, well, not concrete, things I want to see us do is fix Gagliardo Park. I don't think there's any debate that has to happen, but I want to see that through. I want to make sure that we are on top of it. There are some things that the library needs. I want to see that. I gave an interview last week about library funding. There's a funding gap at the library for their basic operations that the city should be helping them fill. I want to make sure that that is happening. That might be happening. We'll find out when we start the budget process. But if that doesn't happen this time around, I want to see us get that back on track. The Art Center is going to be, they're planning a whole new arts campus over here. They've acquired the piece of land next to them. I want to make sure that we're working with the community in the Art Center to make sure that that's a very successful project, that the folks living right here in Blindbrook are happy with what's going on over there.
Right.
There'll be a lot of parking and traffic concerns. We have a lot of traffic and pedestrian safety issues in our city because people are constantly on the move. We have to be very much on top of that. I'd like to see bike lanes or a better bike path from Greenhaven, which is over in Rhinebeck, so that you can bike from there down on the beach without being, at risk on Boston Post Road. That's a disconnected part of our community. I'd like to see how we can have more greenway from your neighborhood down to the beach. A lot of that has to do with how we do planning, but these are all things we could tackle that make everyone be able to experience and enjoy more aspects of Rye. I'd like us to, I did this on the board of ed, and I'm a lawyer and I work with nonprofits. I'd like to see, and so this is where this idea is coming from, I'd like to see all the boards and commissions come and sit down with the council on a regular basis annually and say, hey, here's what we're seeing, here's what we're experiencing. We hear from them and we discuss with them when there's an issue, but I think sometimes we don't know everything that they're seeing. And I think that would be very helpful. Specifically, the Zoning Board of Appeals has a lot of data on how many variances they give and what the nature of those variances are. I'd like to hear from them on an annual basis. What's going on? What are you seeing? Or, how that's communicated so that we can make sure that the policies that we are discussing, new legislation or amendments to legislation, are in tune with what they're being asked for.
Right.
And why are they being asked
Before we
for?
went out of
Sure.
I want to ask you one last question.
Yeah.
I can dump it. I got an extra battery. in case
The battery's going. I thought you had memory. Let's just do that. I think we can finish off. What you want? Yeah, we'll
It's
be
up
good.
to you.
Okay, we'll be good.
So those are just, that's a laundry list of things.
I only
I'd
asked
like
for
to
3,
do.
but yeah, you sound way more than qualified for the gig, man.
I want to see us address. Flooding. Flooding will be a top priority. It needs to be in the drinking water of every kind of decision. Are we always thinking about that? And the last item I'll bring up, and then I'll let you do your thing, is the way we do budgeting. It all happens in a crunch in November and December. I'd like to see more budget discussions earlier on in the year when we can talk more freely amongst ourselves and with the community, when we're not under the time pressure to adopt and pass a budget. And I'd like us to be communicating with ourselves and the community at large. I'd like to see 5-year out budget projections so that when we're making a decision today, we can see and the community can see what the financial implications are in the future.
Right.
I know that our staff is thinking that way, so I'm not worried about the information being there. I just think it needs to be brought out into the conversation. When I was president of the Board of Ed, we always did that. When we bought something or changed a program or added or took away a program, we always saw what that meant 5 years out. And it was always a rolling 5 years. Oh, we put in that athletic field for the football stadium. When are we going to have to deal with it next?
Right.
You could see in the 5-year plan when we needed to
Maintenance
be
schedule,
dealing
all
with
that
it.
stuff, yeah.
And FEMA ended up taking care of it a few times, so we got lucky in an unlucky way. But you want to always know what's coming, and you want your council to know what's coming. And the reason you want your council to know is not just for them to be able to be responsive, but you want the entire community to see what's going on so that they see and understand, and then can give response and feedback and trust you, and you're accountable to the community. You're always telling them what you're doing. You're always telling them what's down the pipeline, and they can say, this is what's happening. The more transparent we can be with what we're doing, the more you can be engaged, the more you can know when to come in and say, hey, that's an issue that's important to me. I'm going to be there for that meeting, or I'm going to send a note in if you can't be there. And we also, one of the things I'm proud of that we did was we adopted a new way of holding our meetings that it's not new in that it's what I did on the Board of Ed, which is we have discussion about big ideas and big things we're going to vote on, but we don't vote on them in the first meeting, even if we all kind of know what we want to do. We talk about it, we share, we hear from the community.
Setting still the straight on the recording setting is still 125.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool.
So we'll be able to see. Oh, so I want to have all those commissions. Let's see, what was I talking about? Budget
and just being transparent with the community.
Yeah, we're radically transparent with the community. You can see what's going on. You can know when to show up. One of the things where that came to light recently is, so years ago, I was on the council, and I think it was an important thing that I did. It was an unfortunate situation. The Osborne home wanted a zoning text amendment. The neighbors were very concerned about how that would impact their neighborhood. I'm the one person who voted against it because I didn't feel that we had worked it out with the neighborhood. And I felt there was more work to do there. The thing went through, there was litigation, it delayed the project there for years. Ultimately, they settled by having the kind of conversation I thought they needed to have in the first place. Mm-hmm. They've had that conversation. The Osborne is an amazing partner in our city, and now they're doing the planning around that project. And I received concern calls, oh, the planning's going on, how do we know what's going on? And I contacted the people who run that, Nick Everett and our city manager and our corporation counsel, and I said, hey, we don't normally video these meetings. We need to do that because all of these folks can't all come. They want to see what's going on, and we need that to be out there for them. And so they did it because they were just like, oh, that's great, we're going to do it. They were fine, and it's giving the community an opportunity, and that ties into what I was talking about before we changed our battery, which is we set some guidelines for the council meetings where we talk about important things. We tell the community what they are, we present them, and we have a discussion, but we do it over several meetings so that no one is rushed into voting, and no one is voting on something that's big where they haven't had community feedback. So if we're going to do a sidewalk redesign and implement that on Forest Avenue, you spread that out over a few meetings so people can come in and say, hey, here's what we're doing. You want to change the park at Gagliardo and clean it up and fix it and move some things. Well, you do that over a few meetings so the folks at Gagliardo neighborhood can come down and say, whoa, do you know the story of Gagliardo?
Yeah.
Did you know about home plate? These are important things. How are you going to honor that? How are we going to keep that? We might not know that. So you need to give people the time to be able to react, and they're not going to, the whole community isn't going to show up. It's not Athens. They're not going to show up at each meeting. Yeah. They're going to, it kind of gets out into the ether of Rye pretty quickly, but over a few weeks, few meetings, and then people respond. And I think it's very good that we've set that as a way we work. Of course, if somebody is saying, hey, we want to have a food truck permit next Tuesday, we're not going to spread that over a bunch of meetings. It's not a big conversation. Right. They just need permission. But if it's these bigger things that impact people on a long-term and permanent kind of basis,
everybody knows what's going on.
Everybody needs to know. Everyone has to have an opportunity. They have to have the opportunity. And if they care about it, believe me, in Rye, we have a very, very smart, sophisticated community. They show up. It's good.
Yeah.
And if you've had it out there enough, if they're not showing up, they're probably okay with it, or they'll show up.
At least give them the opportunity.
Give them the opportunity, and you have to pace it with, everyone in Rye is busy running their lives.
Yeah.
So you got to give them time. It's got to have a cycle in the newspaper, and the newspaper comes out every 2 weeks, and the online versions and mayoral come out more regularly. But people read stuff on the weekends. They talk to their friends and neighbors. They catch up over time. So that's something I'm very proud that we did. We did that in response to some unfortunate things that had occurred, and now I think the council has a process that is very much what I had on the Board of Ed, very much what I think is good for this community, and I'll make sure we continue to do that.
What's some advice you would give to somebody that wants to be a part of the community, that wants to help out, that wants to make change to the community, but doesn't feel seen, heard, or taken serious?
Okay, I think the first thing is let us know what you're interested in, and if there is a board or commission that you want to be involved in, come and be involved. If you are involved in a nonprofit or you like what's going on in a nonprofit, be seen and heard there. If you're politically inclined, the different political parties in Rye are always looking for people to come on and get involved and articulate their interests that way. Now I can, I don't think we're well served by making lots of things partisan issues. I mean, partisanship is good for elections, and then you all come together and do the work that makes the community great.
Right.
But that's another outlet. You can get involved in local politics and be seen and heard that way. The other thing is come to a meeting, come to a city council meeting. If you're not being heard, if you're not being seen, if you're not getting on a committee, then show up and talk about what's important to you. I welcome people to come to the council. I welcome them to use that public time when everyone has 3 minutes.
Yes, sir.
We've also loosened that up. There used to be this awful buzzer that would shut people down. We got rid of the buzzer. That was something that a number of us said, that's got to go. We got rid of the buzzer. We also took the attitude of, the 3 minutes. If somebody is talking and they need a little more time, let them finish their presentation.
Right.
Lots of people don't use the whole time. Some people speak faster or slower.
Yeah.
Everyone respects it. I think use the council as a place to voice your concerns, and if you're not being heard, do it again. And frankly, if you're really not being heard, reach out to council members. I give people my phone number. They can call, they can text, they have my email. I hear from people all the time, and I respond, do the very best I can.
You responded to me, man.
I
We did the
responded to
interview.
you, and if I can, I hook them up with someone who is able to help them with the thing they're interested in, because often it's not the council member directly. Often the council member is simply a conduit, help get you with the right person. And, we do our best, but no one in this community should feel unseen, unheard if they have something to say or something to show.
I love
And if they're feeling that way, then, man, we're not doing our job. And if I'm on the council and if I'm the mayor, then you call me up and you say, I'm not being seen, I'm not being heard. And let's look at this and let's see what it is you're concerned about. Because this place, it's too wonderful a place. People here are really smart, really sophisticated, really know what this community is about. And I want to hear from them. I want their ideas to be feeding everything we do. You should not have to be the idea guy to be on the council. You should be the one who's good at listening, capturing what others are saying. So share your thoughts with me or whomever on the council you feel comfortable with, because everyone on the council must have a voice. There's 7 members of the council. The mayor's just one of them.
Right.
We lead the meeting, we organize some things, we exercise some leadership, but leadership is earned every day. And every single person on that council has an equal voice. And they have, if I'm the mayor, they have my ear just as much as everyone else does. And I can't do anything without the support of all of them. I have to earn that right every single day. I did it on the Board of Ed. I'll do it here. I just try to work that way in life.
Yeah.
And, we're not all perfect. Not all groups are perfect. Not all projects are perfect. Things happen. But if we always act with that intention, we'll get it right a lot more than we'll get it wrong. And if we make a mistake, we'll fix it.
Yeah.
And people will respect that, and they'll come back and they'll trust us.
Right. Ladies and gentlemen, Josh Nathan.
Hold on, let me listen at your thing.
I forgot these are recorded by himself too, but we're good. How could people support you when they have anything coming up? Anything that might help your campaign? Anything
Sure.
The people.
Sure. Look, on my campaign, if you want to support us, there's 4 of us running. Myself, James Ward, who's on the council now with me, he's been on for a year, and he's very committed to climate smart efforts. He's responsible, along with others, for leading the charge to get our bronze status. Marian Anderson, who has lived in Rye her whole life and has a perspective and a vision for Rye that's essential to be on the dais. And then Amy Casavin is a new member. Well, she's not a new member of our community. She's been here for a long time, but she would be new on the council, and she has been volunteering at organizations in Rye. She's worked on the sustainability. And let me give a little plug for Amy, because she's really an amazing person. I tell this to people all the time. She's the smartest one of the bunch. and it's a good bunch, but certainly smarter than me. Amy came to Washington, D.C., worked for the Department of Defense, Pentagon as presidential fellow, and then worked on negotiating satellite and communications arrangements with our allied nations. And she won the Civil Service Award for her work at the Pentagon as a civilian. And she was recognized multiple times and promoted and had a very successful career. She got married, started a family, came to Rye with her husband. Kids got a little bit older. And she said, I think the world needs more nurses. And so she went and became a nurse. She worked in the Rye City Schools for a little while, and then she went up to Greenwich Hospital because she wanted to work with new mothers and people about to become mothers, and so she works there. And then she woke up and she said, and I'll be partisan here, she said, I think that the world needs more Democrats in office. And so she joined our ticket, and we're so grateful for her. And I make that plug. She's done some great work with 5 Steps to 5. You can read all about us. You can read about myself. You can read about Marian Anderson, James Ward, and Amy Casavin, all on our website. I'm going to give you 2 URLs here because one is more accurate, but one might be easier to remember. So the first one is rowa4rye.com. It's ROWA number 4 rye RYE.com. That's our website.
Everybody
if
across the board.
All of us are there. Now, if for some reason that causes you to struggle, if you go to joshnathan.com, takes you to the same place. So joshnathan.com, exact same spot. You will see the 4 of us there. You can read about our platform. You can read about our priorities. You can read little bios and bullet points about us. It has information about where to vote. And if you want to donate, it has links to donate and support our campaign. It's all there. And if you have questions, there's emails. You can reach all of us. A number of us have our phone numbers up there. You can reach us there. And then you can also
Vote.
Vote. The most important thing.
Yeah.
Thank you. My God, going through all that. The most important thing is if you want to see us on that dais for 2026 doing some incredible work, and this is an amazing team, and we will be joining with some people already on the dais who I think are great and I've had the privilege of working with. Well, then you just have to come out and vote. Voting starts October 25th, and you can vote at the Rye Resurrection, one of the churches there, what used to be the Methodist Church. For those of us who have been here a long time, they have the early voting there for a week. And then, of course, November 4th is Election Day. So you can start on the 25th if you're worried about remembering Election Day or you might be out of town. And there's a week of voting. And then, of course, November 4th, Election Day. And look, if you care about Rye, read up. We're going to be in the papers. Our opponents are going to be in the papers. Make your decision and be heard. Most important thing is come out and be heard.
If you want to be heard, vote Josh Nathan. Josh Nathan, thank you so much for coming out and doing this with me.
Hey, what a pleasure. I love that you guys are doing this. This is really terrific. What a fun way to do it. And I hope that you guys are able to do this kind of thing.
I hope this brings awareness to your
lots of other things. It'll be great for us. And I think it's a great thing for people to be engaged around Rye. And again, check in with Nicole Levitsky, check in with the folks at the Rye Record, the folks at myrye.com. I think they'd love to see what you're doing.
Awesome.
You might be able to link up, do some cross promotion, be a guest video commentator for Rye. And if you ever want to have a walk around Gagliardo, I'm happy to go up there, chat with you and your neighbors. But I can tell you, I went up there for years as a parent, and I went up there as a council person several times, and I've gone up there walking the district. That place is a high priority. It should be as gorgeous as what we saw at Rye Rec and in Nursery Field. We should be able to do something equivalent, different, and appropriate for that park in the spirit of that neighborhood. And people should look at that and say, wow, this is ours.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Ladies and
Thank
gentlemen.
you so much.
Yeah. T.
All right.
Leo.
Thanks. Remember to vote.
Let's
Thank
just-
you so
Thank
much.
you. Leo, you cut it.